Hey everyone, and welcome to my second Waypoint Books Full Moon subscription box reading vlog. If you don't know what Waypoint's Full Moon subscription box is, I'll leave a link up above to my first video where I do the full explanation, but essentially it is a book box tailored specifically to you, run by Waypoint Books, which is owned by Hannah from Ladder M. This is an online bookstore that ships internationally, so you don't have to worry about if you're not from England or anything else. Hannah does ship to most countries. For the Half Moon box, you are sent a questionnaire that has got loads of questions about your tastes, your likes, your dislikes in your reading, everything else, and Hannah will use that questionnaire as well as your Goodreads to send you then a list of 3 books on an email. You then pick one of those books and Hannah sends it to you that month. If you have the Full Moon subscription box, Hannah then also sends you a surprise book as well that is completely and utterly a surprise. You will have no idea what it is, but it will still be based around your tastes and everything else that Hannah thinks you will like. And I'm now currently a rep for Hannah's Full Moon subscription box, so this month the book I picked was Bloodstained Teeth Volume 2 Drip Feed. This is the second one in this series, obviously because it's volume 2. Hannah sent me the first one as my surprise book last month and I absolutely adored it, so I'm really excited to continue on and read this one. This is actually about a vampire who has been turning a whole load of other people into vampires for money, and now the vampire council have told him to pack it in and actually now go around and kill all of the people he's turned before they reveal vampires to the world. And then my surprise book for this month was The Death of Jane Lawrence, which is a little bit more left field for me, but Hannah thinks I'm going to really like it. This is a Gothic tale about a woman called Jane Lawrence who has decided that she's going to go in for a marriage of convenience just so she can carry on doing whatever she wants to do, this kind of thing. But then it turns out that the surgeon she married actually is not all that he seems, and she thinks he may be haunted or something like this, and she's got to try and figure out exactly what's going on. I trust Hannah with this one, though I am a little bit nervous about it, I won't lie, because I've never really read Gothic fiction, but I really love films like Crimson Peak, so I'm hoping this is going to be very similar in terms of like vibes and this kind of thing, and I'm going to vibe with it. I completely trust Hannah with her picks, so we will see what I think about this one. And what I'm going to start with is Bloodstained Teeth, because this is the shorter one, obviously because it's a graphic novel, and also because I'm doing graphics-a-thon this month, which involves reading 31 graphic novels in 31 days, so it's about time I made a head start with that. And then I'm going to go into Death of Jane Lawrence, and I'm actually going to be taking you with me and giving you my thoughts and feelings on these books as I read them, that kind of thing. So let's get going with Bloodstained Teeth Volume 2. So now just finished Bloodstained Teeth Volume 2, and I didn't realise that this is actually the concluding one. It was actually only going to be a 2-volume series. I thought it was going to be a longer one, but I will say it's a reasonably satisfying conclusion. I think this could have done with maybe a 3rd volume as well, just to like round things out a bit, because there was a lot of things introduced in here, like the Pensmiths, who seem to be like the sort of like assassins of this world, things like this, and I think it could have been fleshed out a little bit more into like a 3rd volume, or even just more like spin-offs within this world. But overall it was a pretty satisfying conclusion. The artwork is still very sort of psychedelic and out there. I'm trying to find something that isn't too like bloody or violent or anything. Taking a while, won't lie. There we go. No, I've got nothing to be honest, but it's very, there we go. It's very sort of like in-your-face psychedelic and things like this, which is not usually my thing either, but overall I did have a really good time with this. I did enjoy the world of it, and I am just left wanting more, which I find can be quite good in a book, or at least a graphic novel, because it gives the author like more space to like expand on things and talk more about it, and maybe go into different like series and things like this. But Atticus's story is now over, which I'm kind of sad about, but I did overall have a good time with it, and I think I'm going to give it a 4-star like I did the first one. And now we're going to be moving on to The Death of Jane Lawrence. This is a little bit bigger, but I'm a little bit nervous, but we shall see. We shall see. I'm going to start it and see what I think. So I've just opened this, and this has got like a bunch of reviews in the opening bit, and it actually says from the BuzzFeed review, it says it's actually inspired by Crimson Peak, so fingers crossed here. I love Crimson Peak as a movie, so very hoping on that one. Actually it also says Mexican Gothic meets Crimson Peak. Lots of people saying Crimson Peak, so that's good, because that is definitely one of my favourite movies. I absolutely love watching that movie a hell of a lot, like not just because Tom Hiddleston's in it, I just think it's a really good movie. So yeah, here's hoping. I've got good feelings. I've got good feelings. And I mean, first of all, this is another book that's got some really nice sort of opening, like little bits of illustrations like it did on the first book. So that's just a really pretty sort of little bit of decoration there. I always love it when that happens, but I'm now going to make a start on this, see what I think about it, and obviously update you when I've read something. It's now the next day and I have only managed to read 2 chapters of The Death of Jane Lawrence, and that was about 28 pages, but it's a good start so far. I'm definitely intrigued in terms of what's going on, because Jane Lawrence has just tried to convince her future husband, who is called Augustine Lawrence. She's just tried to convince him to marry her for purely like convenience reasons for the both of them, but it's clear that he's hiding secrets and things like this, but she's going, no, it'll be fine, and she's just been invited to his doctor's surgery so she can kind of see what she'd be doing like as his secretary, because she's saying, if we get married, I will be your secretary, this kind of thing, and it will be purely a business arrangement. So very intrigued so far. I do like Jane as a character, because I very much like how like headstrong she is and very like assured of what she wants, this kind of thing. I really like that in a character, so definitely enjoying myself so far. I'm only 28 pages in, but definitely a solid start. This is definitely my goth heart talking here, which makes sense because this is a gothic book, but I'm really loving some of the details in here. We've already had a very graphic scene of surgery and like the consequences of that based in more like Victorian times, I guess you could say. Though this doesn't feel like it's set in England at all, because they're talking about Beltane. I don't know if that's just like a gothic name for Britain or something, I don't know, but it's also talking about the fact that they've trucked out all of like the churches and religion and things like this as well, so it doesn't quite feel like England or anywhere that I personally know of, but this could just be because I don't know the full like tropes of gothic fiction, things like this. My gothic fiction kind of ends at Crimson Peak and doesn't really go further than that, to say the least. I'm very much like, Crimson Peak is where my cut-off is, usually in terms of where my like experiences come from with gothic stuff. Anyway, but also Augustine Lawrence has just proposed to Jane with rings that are made out of bone that came from a patient that had slowly like ossified, and I'm like, that is unbelievably metal. Like that is that's so cool. Like, that really appeals to my gothic heart that loves all these kind of things. Like, I'm gonna say it's like my Wednesday Addams heart, because I very much am like, I always describe myself as being like Wednesday Addams meets Gwenpool, and those kind of details are definitely appealing to me, because I'm just like, ooh, that sounds cool. Like, a little bit gross, but at the same time kinda cool, because it's a ring made out of bone. And not only that, it seems to be some kind of like moving thing. I don't quite understand how the ring like changes shape really, because like I own spinner rings. I don't know if you see that, but that's a spinner ring, and then also this top one here is as well. So I have like spinner rings, but I don't understand quite how this ring works, because it seems to be like growing like thinner and taller and things like this, and I'm like, I don't quite understand how that works, and I would have liked a diagram, but that could just be me. Either way, that ring sounds epic, and I'm not kidding. If I had a ring like that, probably made out of metal, because I'm not that hardcore, I would definitely be spending all day playing with it instead of wearing it, because I do spend a lot of time playing with these ones as well and just sort of like spinning them. So yeah, I just wanted to say that is a really cool thing, and I'm also quite like into like the surgery scene, because I love medical things. I watch a lot of medical shows, like real life ones and dramas, so I'm a big fan of Grey's Anatomy, though I haven't watched it in a few years since they did the pandemic storyline, because I'm still sort of waiting to feel okay about that. But I'm also fans of like 24 Hours in A&E, like 999, what is it? Surgeons at the Edge of Life, that's one of them. There's like the Casualty, Every Second Counts, all of this kind of thing. I'm really into all of those shows, so it's really interesting to see like a layman's look at like surgery and how they're reacting to like the gore of it and this kind of thing, like the consequences when the patient dies, all the rest of it. I'm finding that very interesting, so definitely a good start. I'm 66 pages in at the moment, and definitely having like a really good start right now. This is very good so far. I'm definitely intrigued, because there's been a few sort of possible occult moments as well, I should mention, because the like patient in question who got operated on was found in a circle of salt and chalk, which is definitely a cult, like a culty. And like there's little things like this where I'm like, there's something occulty going on here, which always intrigues me. So definitely enjoying this so far. Definitely enjoying this. I've just finished chapter 12 and Augustine is definitely hiding something, like without doubt, and I like how we're getting this slow sense of like creepy to it, in terms of like how the servants think the house is haunted, and they think that one of them thinks they've seen apparitions, whereas the other one's husband thinks like he's seen people coming and going when there haven't been anybody. But they're like, oh no, the husband's prone to drinking, he's imagining things, and like obviously ghosts aren't real. But then Jane's looked into a window pane and seen herself there, but with red eyes and things like this, and I'm like, ooh, creepy. And there's definitely like, it could be Elodie, who we've just been like told about as like a patient that Augustine couldn't save, but I'm like, I reckon there's going to be something more here. I'm thinking more, maybe not vengeful spirit, but some kind of like vengeful spirit, like, not vengeful spirit, something like a spirit that's like just hanging around with unfinished business, something like this. But I am only like this far into it. I've still got this much to go, so I'm probably entirely wrong, but thinking that may be it. But definitely Augustine is definitely up to something. Definitely, because he's like, oh yeah, there's nothing behind the like the padlocked door. It's just like an old cellar that's very dangerous because the tunnels are gonna possibly gonna collapse in there. There's nothing down there, and I'm like, yeah, Dorian Gray said the same thing, and he had a painting in his like attic that was like evil, if I remember rightly. It's been a while since I've seen the film, but the same point still stands. Dorian Gray had a loft like thing that had a dark secret in it that he kept padlocked, and it wasn't good. It ended badly. So I'm thinking there's going to be something down in that cellar as well. Also, I do really appreciate how like logical Jane is as a character. Like, she's very much like headstrong and logical and going, no, it's not ghosts or anything else, it's just the fact that it's an old house. You know, I'm just worried because it's an old house and I'm on my own and this kind of thing. And she's very much like, no, I'm just going to focus on the numbers and the cold hard facts that I know about. I really, really appreciate that, because I generally like that in a character. And the fact that she's so like, not exactly headstrong, but she's very much like focused on like what she wants to do and like the ledgers and everything else. She knows her job, she's going to do it. This kind of thing, she focuses on that. She finds comfort in maths, which is not something I've ever really sort of considered before, because I'm very much a person who finds the written word very, very comforting, whereas maths makes me want to cry. So I'm a little bit like, that's an interesting sort of like character trait, but I get it for like Jane's character in general. And I just find that quite an interesting perspective, that she finds like numbers so comforting. I understand people do, but generally never really felt it before, to be honest. So that was I'm finding that as a very interesting like point of view, I guess you could say. I'm now around about halfway through, and it turns out it's sort of magic and rituals and things like this, and we also don't know if Augustine possibly like killed his first wife, things like this, and it's like, ooh, very intrigued. Definitely like all of this magic element and like this sort of slightly more culty feel to it, that kind of thing. Really, really enjoying all of those elements and like the mystery of it, everything else. I'm still really liking Jane as a main character, because even though she's scared and she's sort of like fighting the urge to run away, she's still very much like, no, I want to get to the bottom of this, everything else. I'm really liking her agency in this, and like her unraveling all of this mystery, everything else. That's all really, really interesting, and I am definitely really enjoying this. I'm definitely getting the Crimson Peak vibes, definitely getting those, because that's a sort of very similar thing where they keep on killing the wives for the money, all the rest of it. I don't know if that's what's going to happen here. It doesn't look like it, but we'll see. Either way, it's still giving me those Crimson Peak vibes, which I'm definitely enjoying. I now really want to watch Crimson Peak again, actually, so that's going on my watch list again. But yeah, this is actually really, really enjoyable, and I'm going to continue on now. I've still got about 250 pages left, I think it is. Yeah, about 260 actually, so I need to read 130 pages today and 130 tomorrow, which feels doable. Very excited, gonna continue on now. I just thought I'd quickly update you when I got to the halfway mark, so that's what I did. Another location again, but I'm really enjoying how we are actually seeing how the rituals work in here and how like Jane is actually doing them and like the words she's saying and the like things she's using to help with the spell and all of this kind of thing, because up until now we haven't really had that. And I do quite like having an explanation as to like how the magic works, or at least like what magic you're using and that kind of thing. I find all of that really, really interesting. It's one of my favourite things about fantasy, so I'm really glad that that's in here. But also, Jane's now doing this to save Augustine, who is stuck in the crypt in the house. And I'm like, I don't know if I'd go that far, to be honest, because she's been warned multiple times that like magic is not good and it's gonna end like very badly and it can like cause serious damage. But also Augustine has proven to be someone who lies to her constantly and then also gaslights her and things like this, and I'm like, I mean, he did also like try to save her because the spirits made her believe made him believe that she was ill, like Elodie, his first wife. But I'm like, I don't know if I would personally try to save him that hard. Like, I wouldn't go to this level, you know, because I'm just like, you're a liar and a gaslighter, and you did horrific things to try and bring back your first wife, which is kind of understandable in terms of like grief and desperation and all the rest of it, but I'm still just like, I don't trust you. If I was her, I'd be figuring out ways to leave him, personally. That's just me. And I mean, yeah, okay, she may be trying to save him though as well, because obviously he is the doctor of this place and they need a doctor because they don't have another one, and they especially don't have a surgeon, and she can't take over, as she proved with Oren. But it's still like, I don't know if I'd try to save him as much as she is, you know, because I'm just like, you're not a good guy. In a lot of aspects, you are not a good man. So I don't know if I'd like try this much, or if I'd just try to find a new doctor and then just run for the hills. Personally, I don't know. It's different choices for different people, but yeah, I'm not entirely sure on Jane's decisions here. Not entirely sure I agree with them. So I've now just finished The Death of Jane Lawrence, and that was a complete mind screw at the end there. For like the last 100 pages, proper mind screw is the only way I can describe that. I don't know if that's normal for like Gothic novels or whatever, because this is the first time I've ever read a Gothic novel, so all of my Gothic knowledge comes from osmosis via watching Hannah's videos and then from Crimson Peak, and that is where my like Gothic knowledge ends. So I don't know if it's normal to be this much of a mind screw and this sort of like, not exactly multiversal, it was kind of multiversal, but that kind of metaphysics, I saw someone say, so I'm going to go with metaphysics, that kind of like metaphysical type thing. I don't know if that's like normal for Gothic fiction or what, but I somehow enjoyed myself. Even if I don't understand what just happened, I actually quite enjoyed myself, which isn't usually like me. I don't usually go for books or like books where I do not understand the ending, or where I just don't understand what's happened. That's not usually my thing, but this actually really, really worked for me in a lot of ways. I really loved like Jane as a character. I really liked that she was into like STEM subjects like mathematics, and she was very mathematical, even if that did go completely over my head, because as I've said previously, I am not a maths person. Maths makes me want to cry, because I'm just no good at it. I do not understand maths. It's not my thing. But I did appreciate the fact that she was like into STEM and all the rest of it. She definitely knew her own mind. She knew what she wanted, that kind of thing. Definitely appreciated that. I did like Augustine as a character as well, and like unraveling the mystery of exactly what was going on with him, and like what was going on with like the magicians and magic and this kind of thing, and then like Jane trying to save him, even if I did like not really agree with it, so I was like, girl, he was partially the cause for his first wife's death. He then tried to bring her back to life in the most gory way possible. He's haunted by a bunch of ghosts. He's gaslit you. And he tried to, like, he thought she was ill, so he kind of tried to kill her as well in his, while trying to help kind of way. And I'm like, I wouldn't have tried to save him, quite frankly. I would have left him in that cellar and run for the hills. That's just me personally. So I don't entirely agree with Jane's choices there, but there we go. Love makes us do weird things and I do not understand. Like most love stories kind of just go over my head. I'm just like, why do you care this much about this person you met last week? That kind of thing. That's my usual bugbears with books though, talking, not this book specifically. But overall, I did quite enjoy this. I liked the creepy vibes of it. I liked that I was getting mind screwed quite a lot and things like this. I will say that I do think I will read another Gothic book at some point, but I'm going to need a fair few weeks, if not a couple of months, to sort of like rest my brain after this one, because this was a lot. And I'm gonna need to read things that are a lot more simpler, just for a little while and a little bit more straightforward, because while this was enjoyable, my brain has now kind of exploded. So I kind of just need a few months to sort of like, I feel like I just need to go back down to like my normal base level of like understanding, because at the moment that's kind of been obliterated a little bit after this. So but I do definitely think though that I will read another Gothic book, because this was definitely very enjoyable. I really like the creepy vibes of it and that kind of thing. It's just like the fact that it was a mind screw that's kind of stopping me from going, right, I'll go look up more Gothic books right now. But overall it was a really good one, and I'm actually really glad she sent me this one as the surprise book, because I would never have picked this up otherwise. I would have just avoided it forever, because I was like, oh, Gothic fiction, not sure about that, and I'm not used to going outside of my comfort zone that much. But Hannah definitely knows me. She definitely understands what I like about things. She knows like my taste really, really well, because she's looked at my Goodreads and everything else, and I've filled out that questionnaire as best as I could, all this kind of thing. So she definitely chose right for me this time, and I am really, really glad I read this. I think that's where I'm going to wrap up this video. So yeah, overall, again, Hannah absolutely nailed it with these picks. Once again, I am still really, really pleased with everything she sent me. I really, really enjoyed all of it, even if I am now still sort of like mind screwed a little bit after that last one. I'm still really, really enjoyed everything she sent me so far. And if you want to try out Waypoint's full moon or half moon subscription boxes for yourself, please do use the code BeccaFM23 at checkout to get 30% off. And that makes it a win-win situation. You get new books that you're gonna really, really enjoy, tailored specifically to your tastes, and you get 30% off. There's no downside to this, so please do go use that code, because you'll get 30% off and you get new books. There is, like, you cannot get a better deal than that. So please do use that code, and please do check out Waypoint Books in general, because Hannah is a really, really good bookseller. She ships internationally as well, so if you are not in England, don't worry, she will most probably send to your country as well. And if you aren't sure, just message her. She will get back to you very, very quickly on that. And also just check out her full moon and half moon subscription boxes, because they are really, really good and totally worth it. But for now, I am now going to leave this video here. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do give me a thumbs up. Comment down below, tell me if you read either of these books. I'd love to know. Or if you don't have that much time, leave me a skull emoji down below to let me know that you were here. I'll also leave a link as well down below to all of my social media if you want to check it out, including to the Comic Book Sanctum, which is my website dedicated to Marvel Comics, as well as to my Etsy store that sells bookish merch if you're interested in that, and also to Waypoint Books and everything else to do with Hannah down below, so you can check out her content as well as her bookstore and obviously the subscription services. And if you want to see any more of my videos, please click subscribe here, and over here will be the link to my previous video. But until next time everyone, bye!